same time, we're talking about generational wealth on the line. You know, we are talking millions and millions of dollars, enough to set up his family for long-term prosperity. I am never going to knock a guy for making that choice. I'm never going to knock a guy for looking out for himself and his family. So in that respect, I totally appreciate and can understand what Jalen did. And, you know, really beyond that, all the other stuff is just noise and it's ancillary discussion.
Duke isn't the only team that looks a little bit different. Carolina is definitely, different as well coming into this game than they were in the first one. And it's mainly the fact that Walker Kessler is now a part of this rotation again and has had some success. How do you think that Kessler has helped this team on both ends of the floor since sort of breaking out?
Yeah, it's been a huge help. I think that, you know, wherever UNC ends up going this season, if it's a deep run in the ACC or NCAA tournament, or it's sort of straight out, one way or another, Walker Kessler is going to be a factor. I mean, if not for two separate COVID-19 quarantines that he had to undergo right before practices started in the fall. And this is the guy who he had to spend both of those quarantines in a hotel by himself, despite never testing positive. The team says, you know, hey, you had contact, so-and-so, enjoy your hotel. You can't leave for 2 weeks. I mean, that's tough. So he's had to work his way back from that. And that's the only reason we haven't seen him earlier, because in terms of skill, like actual skill offensively, post moves, some of the things that he can do just don't make sense for his size. Like, you know, if he's taking dudes off the dribble with his left hand and switching hands as he goes up to finish, there's only so many guys in the world that can do that. So I think offensively, he's probably UNC's most polished scorer already. I think his post moves and, you know, combination of baby hooks, counters, those sorts of things, I think they're as good as anyone on the roster. And defensively, he is probably the best rim protector UNC has. Him and Day'Ron Sharp, I'd say, could probably fight over that. But, you know, he is a threat just in every single layup from other teams to block it, to get a hand on it, to disrupt it. And even if he's not, the threat of him looming changes the way that teams try and attack UNC defensively. So, Walker's emergence has been huge for the Tar Heels. It's going to continue to be regardless. And usually when he does well, the team does well. Don't think that's something Roy Williams hasn't noticed.
The first contest between these two Blue Bloods was a 91-87 shootout where both teams shot over 50% from the field, and Carolina put 6 players in double-figure scoring for the first time since 2018-2019. Can we expect the same type of game this time around?
I'd be surprised if we did. That was one of the better offensive outputs from either of these teams, and expecting either one of them to replicate that, I think, is probably a little unrealistic. I mean, it took Duke until overtime last night to not even get to 80 points. So I would be surprised if it was that high scoring. I think that just was, it's one of those games where guys are dialed in, guys are focused, guys are locked on. And, you know, Caleb Love was a big part of the reason for that for UNC. You go back and look. I mean, you know, the guy shot over 50% from the field, made 4 or 5 threes. Like, he hasn't done that in any other game all year. So, I'd be surprised if he was able to replicate that. I'd be surprised if either team was. But just because it's a little grittier, a little uglier, doesn't mean it's not still a good game.
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier. You had mentioned it about the fans potentially playing a role in this game. They definitely played a role in that comeback against Florida State. How much of a role do you think that they will play in this season finale against Duke?
I think it's going to be huge. I really do. You know, especially considering that the majority of the people who will be allowed in the stadium are students, which 100% kudos to UNC for doing that. That's how it should be. You know, students. I feel so bad for college kids right now. Seniors last year, they lost their final semester, and juniors last year have basically lost a year and a half of the college experience. So for those guys to be in the Smith Center for one last Duke game, could potentially send Duke to the shadow realm, so to speak, cast them for all intents and purposes out of the NCAA tournament. That's something that these students are going to get up for, and they're going to be motivated. They're going to be loud, and I think that, you know, we saw it against Florida State. UNC doesn't come back in that game if it's not for the crowd. And I very much can see it having a massive impact in the Duke game. You know, who knows who is going to, you know, come out and take that early lead and have a counter punch, but you can almost bet that there's going to be a run that UNC needs to make at some point in the game. And the students are going to push them on. I do think that's worth a couple of baskets.
All right, Brendan, I'll get you out on this. UNC sweeps Duke if they do what?
Turn the ball over less than they have any time in the last month. And really, it sounds so simple, but that is the formula for UNC. I mean, you don't have to shoot 45% from three. You definitely don't need to jack up 100 threes a game. You just need to not give the ball away. I mean, I think these young guards are still just struggling to understand the importance of possession. You know, that's the most valuable thing you have. When you have the ball, it's yours. You get opportunities given to you. And when you turn the ball over, you're just relinquishing that. You're hurting your team. So, to me, this game's going to come down to turnovers. Duke is handsy. Duke likes to get turnovers. UNC likes to give it away. I think that could be a troubling recipe for UNC. But, again, if the Tar Heels are able to hang on to the ball, get shots up, let their bigs get second chance points, I think the UNC has a much better chance of actually sweeping Duke for the first time in years.
All right, Brendan, thank you for your time. Where can people find your workout real quick before we get you out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Twitter at Brendan R. Marks. I put all my stories out there and try and engage with people on social media. And then all my stories are up at theathletic.com. If you don't have a subscription, I'm biased, but I think we have the best sports writing in the world. Every sport you could want, all sort of under the same umbrella. So, again, if you don't already, check us out. Try a free trial. We'd love to have everyone come and see what we got going on. All
right, Brendan, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you down the road, man.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right. There you go, guys. That's Brendan Marks from The Athletic on to talk about Carolina and particularly get us ready for Saturday's matchup with the Blue Devils. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. Before we let you go, get you over, guys, to the website, HeelToughBlog.com, where we'll have all your Duke coverage, pregame, postgame. I'll take you through both. So we got you covered on the basketball front and football side of things. Anthony put a weekly storylines article up there as well. There'll be scouting reports with high school football getting underway in the Tar Heel State and baseball. We'll have a weekend recap from the Diamond Heels up on the website, all that content on HeelToughBlog.com. Last, we want to encourage you guys to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on every major podcasting feed, most notably Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts. Give us a like, review me, review Anthony. But most importantly, I want you guys to subscribe to get every podcast in your podcast feed. Well, with that, I want to thank Brandon Marks for taking some time to stop by. I want to thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels.